MMA for today. Is it for today? Or is it MMA today for tomorrow? Yes, MMA today for tomorrow. I almost forgot the title of our show. Today, we have some old faces, and we have one new face. So let's start with the new face, Bryson Hester, a.k.a. XFL. That's your name now. That's what I'm going to call you. Because your Twitter handle is He Hate Me, right?
Yep.
Yeah?
That's
That's
me.
from the
That's
XFL, right?
Hey, oh yeah. You know it?
Yeah, for sure. That's why it's XFL. Now you know, but you look like a straight game. You look like a telemarketer right now. I ain't gonna lie.
Do I?
Yeah.
I mean, no, you can't clown on the headset, man. I mean, I got what I got, you know.
Yeah, it's all good. It sounds like you're in outer space and we're like talking to you from like Interstellar or some shit. But anyways, it's all good, man. Bryson, it's good to have you. Can you hear us? It's good to have you. You know, and I would like to hear. I'm looking forward to hearing what you got to say and your viewpoints and stuff like that. It's gonna be fun.
Absolutely.
The next, of course, Big Boss Tone and Dr. King. I don't have to introduce these people. We already know who they are. We've seen them a million times. Yes. What's his name? Tone is wearing the Giants, which is a terrible team. Let's just talk shit about that right now.
Well, I think your team, they traded away all their players today, so I don't know what kind of room you have to talk right now.
Yeah, good riddance. We got rid of the shit talkers.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Good luck with that defense next year.
It's all good. We have the young guys coming up.
I think this is Nolan's first time coming on the podcast since his team got fucked up in the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. It's the one hat I can't really say anything to, unfortunately. I have so much to say, but I can't really say anything. So
that's right.
I'll just sit here. I mean, AFC champs? No, I don't know.
You got the hat? Did you get the hat, the AFC champion hat? No.
Yeah, no.
2017 AFC champions.
Yeah.
Hey, don't you think those hats are the worst? Like those shirts are the worst.
No,
like you're
I never
second place.
Yeah, it's just asking for it.
The worst is like when you see kids like in Cambodia wearing the New England Patriots championship shirts, but they didn't win the championship that year, but it says they did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wonder how many of those things they make. They must make a ton of them.
Oh, guaranteed.
Yeah.
And then they donate it to charity and then tax write off all that shit. You know, like the companies. Well, who makes those? Like Nike or whatever? Starter?
Yeah, it depends on the league, I guess. Like I think NHL's Reebok. I don't know. Adidas makes something. I don't know.
Yay, Reebok. Long live Reebok.
Plug.
All right, let's get to 222. Man, 222. The main event, Cyborg versus Kunitskaya. Let's give respect to Kunitskaya. She went for it, man. What do you guys think? Let's start with you, Bryson. What do you think about Kunitskaya going for that shit?
I thought Kunitskaya. I mean, I wouldn't say I was impressed with her performance, but she definitely brought it. Like she went for broke. It was kill or be killed. I mean, I think she got out there. I mean, as soon as she got hit by Cyborg, she was like, whoa. I don't know about all this, but like you saw like her kind of get out of the way after that. But I mean, I think she did the best she could, but like I was expecting a little more of a better performance because Holly's her teammate. You know, she goes to Wink, so I thought she'd have a little more than just getting tagged and going down. But it is what it is. Cyborg's a beast, so.
Tone, do you think Cyborg should fight McGregor next?
How are you gonna throw me that one?
He starts off so serious, and then it just takes such a twist.
I mean, I was posed the question the other day, like Rousey. I think someone asked me about Rousey and like beating men because she had that whole thing about like who did she say she would tap out? I don't even remember what fighter it was. Was it Floyd?
Yeah, it was Mayweather.
Okay. And I remember saying like something along the lines of like she could beat like some good athletes. I don't know if she could beat other mixed martial artists, but like Cyborg, I think. I mean, there's definitely some guys in the UFC from like the 135 division. I think she could beat the shit out of.
She could beat the shit out of me.
Well,
You
yeah,
see her
but
rolling
that
with
goes
BJ Penn?
without saying.
You see her rolling with BJ Penn?
Oh, yeah, that's a good matchup for her. Match her up
Yeah.
versus BJ
Yeah,
Penn.
BJ Penn looks small out there.
It's true.
Yeah, like I said last week, man, when I met Cyborg, she was bigger than me, and I weigh like 170 something pounds. So that's a big woman.
Yeah, I
You weigh
wouldn't
that
mess with
much, John?
Yeah,
I thought you were like a buck, like 20 or something.
I wish I was. Then I'll be modeling those skinny jeans for Uniqlo. But anyway, King, man, like Kuniskaya, she gets a title shot right away, signed to the UFC right away, gets a title shot right away. Do you think it was too much, man? Like, or did the UFC have no choice? Like they were like, we just got to do it because Cyborg, she has no opponent, and we got to save this card. Do you think they saved the card?
To a certain extent, I think, Cyborg's name, what was evident from last year was that, she is a little bit of a draw. I wouldn't say she's like, a big draw or anything, but, relatively she is a draw. So I think, having her in a headline fight, you can get away with. It's not ridiculous, you know what I mean? And it's not, they made that card seem more deep, because you still got a really good fight or a really good matchup in Brian Ortega and Frankie Edgar. And then you also had an additional fight, new main event with Cyborg. So I think they were just kind of forced into that position where, there wasn't, again, there's nobody for her to fight. She's around. She's one of the available champions. She's willing to take these fights on short notice. And, it makes the card look a little more deep than it originally did.
No, Nolan, of the active fighters right now, who is a bigger draw than Cyborg? Active.
Well, considering that I'm considering Connor's not really active. That's a good question, I don't know, it's one of those things. Like I think in terms of if you're looking at the history, like if you're looking at the past and what we've, has been laid out for us and we have evidence of, I think she's probably the biggest draw. I mean, Amanda Nunes isn't as big of a draw as her. Mighty Mouse isn't as big of a draw as her. Dillashaw isn't as big of a draw as her. You can go right up the line. I'm trying to mull in my head who would necessarily be a bigger draw. I mean, Stipe did really well on that last card, but I think that was for maybe the matchup more than him. I think honestly, he should be the most promotable champion that they have right now. I'm still on board with that, but I don't know. That's a good question. Do you have somebody in mind?
I thought, Cyborg, of the active fight champions right now, you got like Cyborg and Daniel Cormier, and I guess you could throw, Stipe. We haven't really seen Stipe be able to hold up a card by himself, so I'm not really sure. And kind of the same thing with Cormier, where most of his headlining has been against Jones or some other big name. So it's
and
hard.
A lot of it is to do with matchups too. Like I think obviously Stipe, that last pay-per-view did do fairly well. And this, if he were to fight a Cain Velasquez or something, would that do well? I don't know. If Cain was on a little bit more of a roll, and same thing with DC. He's fighting guys that are deep down the ladder or rematches or things like that. So it's kind of hard to measure the drawing power just because I think matchups do have a lot to do with it. But then again, Cyborg hasn't really had, many matchups where people know the names that she's fighting. So, I would say that you're probably right in that aspect.
Bryson, where does Kuniskaya go from here? Does she go back down to bantamweight and fight, a top name? Or do you think that she might just end up going back to Invicta?
I think there's a strong possibility of her going back to Invicta, but I'd love to see her stay in the UFC. There's some high level competition, especially at the 135 division. That's like one of the oldest divisions in the UFC for women. So I think that she could definitely find a good matchup down there. And I just don't understand why they keep on giving cyborg people that are not even in her weight class. I mean, I admire her and I admire Tanya Evinger and stuff for stepping up, but there's not but so much you can do. A good big woman versus a good small woman. The good big woman's gonna win every time, So
Any thoughts on that, Tone?
I mean, besides the fact that they don't have a 145 division, yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a tough place to be right now, I think. And I think the UFC's still trying to figure it out, even though we're like a year into them making this division. We'll see where it goes. I mean, at some point they have to add fighters, right? They just have to. They can't keep doing this, can they? I mean,
They can.
I don't know.
They can't keep doing this.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before too, and it's like there's nobody really out there either. It's going to be somebody that's kind of undiscovered, or like Yana, Kunitskaya, somebody that's kind of a fringe, Invicta fighter that goes between weight classes, things like that. I mean, again, we can keep talking about Megan Anderson. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Still, I think that's a mess. What's going on? And the UFC sat on enough super fights that and some of them that didn't even necessarily make as much sense as this one does. I just think her and Nunes, the times now, why sit on it for any longer? Why drag this out? Like, double down on your champs right now, and I'm sure the UFC financially, will pay off compared to if they had fought, other opponents separately.
And then, I mean, I'm not going to offer an opinion as to like who actually wins the matchup, but if you had Nunes and Cyborg and if Nunes, I'm not saying that I believe it's going to happen, but if Nunes were to beat Cyborg, at that point, do you just demolish the 145 division?
I think it's a perfect segue to do it. It's an excuse.
You got to, man. You got to get, and it's a good excuse to get rid of Cyborg too, because it seems like, what's the point of just continuing these one-offs? You could do it, you know what I mean? But you guys were mentioning earlier that she is one of the biggest draws, so I guess they don't want her to leave. I guess they don't want her to or to get rid of her. But the fight with Nunes in Brazil, I think it'll be one of the biggest draws of the year. So they're gonna do it. I think that they have to do it. They need it. Like you said, they're not getting.
Right now, Nunes has a fight. I said right now Nunes has a fight still, right?
Well, they just canceled it from what I heard.
Yeah, they canceled it.
Raquel Pennington fight is canceled. I heard that is postponed or canceled or whatever you want to call it, and they're going to try to make this Cyborg fight against Nunes in Brazil somewhere for a pay-per-view. And they're going to stack it up and they're going to probably put it in a big-ass venue so they can make some cash because they need cash. $4 billion. They got to make it up. So
whatever happened to the random does she just she fared pretty well against Holly and then she just backed down. I mean, I get that. I mean, but now that Cyborg's been in the testing pool, she's clean, she's fighting clean. She just is a hard worker. I want to know where Durandame is at, I mean, you were the champ. You're just gonna just step back. I mean, when was the last time she fought,
Yeah, I mean, she's pulled out of, I think, 2 fights in a row now. So that would be a good matchup. That would be one I'd be interested in.
I would be
I think
too.
she was supposed to fight on that Belém card last month. Originally, I think she was supposed to fight Caitlin. Let me see. Germaine Durandame was supposed to fight Caitlin Vieira on February 3rd at UFC Belém, but had to pull out due to injury. So she's probably on the shelf for a little bit longer. But that's not the worst idea in the world. If they're desperate and can somehow convince her to fight and the Nunes fight's not going to happen, I'd be down for that.
She's a big chick. She's like a natural featherweight.
She's tall.
All of 5'10". She's a big chick.
Yep.
All right, man. This is just like a clutterfuck. Durandame was the champion. She didn't want to fight Cyborg, and then now she wants to fight. But now when she wants to fight, she can't get a fight or she pulls out of every fight. You got Megan Anderson. She doesn't fight at all anymore. She's just on fucking Twitter or whatever the fuck talking shit to fucking fans. And I don't know. It's this 145. It is fucked up, and I don't think it's ever going to be stable. I think it's just going to be fucked up until it's gone. which is going to be for a few years. I believe until Cyborg decides to retire or whatever she wants to do, I believe that they're just going to continue this earthquake of a division, and just continue it until it falls apart. Now let's move on, dude. Like the biggest star. I told you, King, last week, you're like, I can't bet against Frankie Edgar because I always bet against Frankie Edgar. And I told you Ortega's going to knock his ass out. And guess what happened? He knocked his ass out like bad. Like, it was terrible. And Frankie Edgar was really legit, like sleep. Did you see him get lifted? Like he smoked 10 pounds of weed, right? Like he hit the vapor like 160 times, like it was like he got lifted and his head, did his head bounce off the canvas?
Yeah, I think it bounced off. Maybe it did, but then I saw that picture where he's like his head's against his shoulder too. That's just like brutal. Yeah, brutal, man.
I'm not even talking about the dab like Cam Newton dab. I'm talking about the dab, like the real dab. He did the dab.
Sterling.
So, Toe, what do you think about Ortega's performance? What's his ceiling? Do you see him beating Max Holloway?
I'm scared to bet against the guy now. I kind of gave him and this is my bad. And same thing with the next fight we'll probably talk about. I was all in on Frankie Edgar. We already saw him derail the hype train with Guerrero Rodriguez. I thought he would, in a 3-round fight, he would just push the pace extremely hard, look for takedowns, and just kind of, not give too much not give too much credit to Ortega's jiu-jitsu, and just feel free to take him down. But the first round was mostly him just sticking and moving, and then we saw Ortega in the clinch all of a sudden display some just where the fuck did that come from striking that I don't think we've seen in his entire career up to this point. He had like one kind of, I wouldn't say fluky, but just kind of one of those knockouts where he just caught the guy kind of weird. But there was no flukiness about this. Like he was lighting him up. Edgar was in a really bad spot regardless at that point, and then that last uppercut from his shin just sent Frankie Edgar in another dimension. And I guess that's how you finish someone's Ironman streak of not getting knocked out or submitted, is just uppercutting him to hell.
Yeah, like Ortega, man, he has shown that he is an all-around fighter in this fight. Like he showed, he actually proves that having your own personal striking coach is very beneficial. Like Rose Namajunas, how she has her own personal striking coach. I think that's very important for these so-called ground fighters, because if you think about it, Namajunas was also kind of like a submission fighter for a long time, and then her striking developed. And those fighters like Ortega, he's a perfect example. What do you think about Edgar though, King? Like moving on, this is his first time getting finished. Where does he go? Does he go back to lightweight? It seems like he's becoming like a gatekeeper, which sucks.
Yeah, I mean, time always wins. It's time is undefeated, especially in MMA. It seems like nobody gets out of MMA, on top. So, this was bound to happen sooner or later. But also, I don't think it's time necessarily for him to hit the panic button quite yet. I mean, he still has beaten just is a fighter that deserves to be at the top of this division still. So we'll see what happens. I think the second fight is always, kind of a telling bout. He hadn't fought for quite a while before this. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But there's a matchup there that I think would make a lot of sense right now. It just sticks out to me if you want to stay at featherweight, and it's Ricardo Lamas. Kind of at similar points in their career right now, guys that were just, really at the top of that division and just suffered devastating knockouts to guys that are on the rise. So I'd like to see that pairing. You know, you could even do a Josh Emmett type thing, or you know, I'm sure there's other guys too in that division that you can match him up with. But maybe go back to lightweight too isn't completely out of the picture. But I think there's no reason to panic yet. I think we'll see come next bout where he's at, you know, actually at. It's tough to tell when the fight was that quick and that one-sided. And so yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'm not going to hit the panic button quite yet.
Bryson, what do you think? Who do you think Edgar should be matched up with?
I don't really know so much as a matchup, but Edgar's my boy. I mean, I think that this is I'm not gonna say a fluke because Brian Ortega is a freak, and you know, like I certainly didn't know his striking was that good, but it turns out it was, and you know, Edgar wasn't as ready for it, but I think once he gets off like medical suspension and he rethinks everything, I think he'll probably stay at 145, and like King was saying, probably I could see a Ricardo Lamas fight because of the way the fight went down with what's his name, Josh Emmett. The way the fight went down with Josh Emmett, kind of the same type thing. He got caught, just except he just got annihilated, just out. But I mean, he comes off a medical suspension, gets in there with him. I mean, he suffered a lot of injuries leading up to this fight. I mean, I think he's still same old Frankie, you know. But I just think that like maybe a Ricardo Lamas or a Josh Emmett, or I mean, he just beat Jeremy Stevens like 2 fights ago. So I mean, I would not buy it, but I don't know if that's the best matchup in the world for him. But I think he'll still be right there with it, just like Frankie Edgar always is.
Anything to add, Tone?
Well, something that didn't come up. What about 135 pounds?
Yeah,
Great
I mean,
addition. Great addition.
yeah. I mean, I know you talked about that previously. Why not? If you can make it, why not? Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
I mean, he was saying that he was walking around at like 45, 150, having good cuts and whatnot. And I mean, definitely when he fought at 155, it was you know, the beginnings of the sport, and he wasn't cutting as much weight and stuff like that. So I could see 135. I mean, if anybody could do it, it'd definitely be him. You know, takes everything seriously. I mean, the dude has his own gym in TRNJ. So you know, I mean, if anybody can do it, it's probably him.
Him versus DC would be a good matchup.
Wait, what?
Him versus
DC?
Yeah.
DC?
Dominic Cruz, motherfuckers.
Oh, hey man, I'm a Daniel Cormier fan. You can't say DC.
DC.
I've been doing that to a lot of people lately.
Like DC, what?
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
Did you see the DC versus DC fight? I always say that to people. They're like, "What? DC was fighting himself?" I was like, "Dominic Cruz, damn." Guys don't know me. But what about that matchup? Would that be something you would be interested in, like a fight night main event type thing?
Oh yeah.
I think it could roll. I think I could get some weight to it. I like it.
Yeah,
but what I like is him staying at 145 and fighting the Korean Zombie. Style matchup.
Ooh.
Great style matchup right there. When the Zombie comes back, you know, Frankie will probably be out for, you know, I don't know how long, but maybe the timeline maybe it could match. They could fight each other. Same thing. Fight night main event.
yeah.
Count me in.
And his next fight, I believe it'll be his what 30th fight now. And I ran that poll on Twitter because I had people. I mean, to me it was like a no-brainer type of thing that he's just, you know, a legend, Hall of Famer. And I had people like saying I was, you know, basically exaggerating. And I ran a poll. You know, is Frankie Edgar just another dude, or is he a Hall of Famer? And everybody said Hall of Famer. So I don't know where the hate for Frankie's coming from. I feel like anytime somebody loses, there's just like this giant pile on, you know?
Yeah, I think that about, you know, winning and losing in the sport. It seems like it's so polarized where somebody loses, they suck or they're done. And then if somebody wins, they're like, you know, the best thing ever, or, you know, you know, for example, some prospect wins on a card and everybody, you know, like the Sean O'Malley. I think when Sean O'Malley won his last fight, people completely overhyped him. This is a perfect segue, by the way. But, you know, you look at this fight, and I think this win was a lot more meaningful. You know what I mean? So it's very people are very polar, and they're the first ones to kick people when they're down. And, you know, this is Frankie Edgar we're talking about, and he'll be back.
Oh, Sean O'Malley versus Andre Sukumtat. Sean O'Malley gets a unanimous decision. Everybody's talking mad shit about Andre. Fight IQ comes into question. Sean O'Malley sitting there looking like a hurt gazelle, you know, looking like a giraffe on one leg. And Sukumtat takes him down and wins the round, of course. But that's when you need to kind of think, what was his corner saying? And do you need to listen to your corner? You know, like, does he listen to his corner at all? Because it's like, you have to win the fight. You must know that you're losing, because between rounds, your corner must be telling you, like, hey, you lost both rounds. You got to go in there and finish the fight. So with that being said, what did you think about Sean O'Malley's performance? We'll start with you, Tone.
Well, you know, I was surprised. You know, I picked Sukumtat, and I didn't think he would have too much trouble with Sean O'Malley. I thought he would work the body really well, and I thought he would have the advantage in the grappling department. But man, I got proven wrong pretty badly. The striking of Sean O'Malley is just it's progressed a lot, even from what we saw in his first UFC fight, what we saw in the Contender Series. He's throwing, you know, to actually, you know, damage now. He's not just throwing shit out there like Holly Holm-esque, where he's just kind of, you know, here's some spinning shit, you know, that's not going to even reach you, but, you know, I'm going to throw it out there anyway just because I can. He's throwing with deadly intentions and trying to hurt his opponent, and he fucked Sukumtat up pretty bad, honestly, in that first round. And I think that's why you saw him, you know, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, you know, even though he has made some judgment errors in the past, you know, with poor fight IQ. But I mean, I guess, you know, the one thing you could say for Sukumtat is, you know, he got hurt in the first round. He's probably not all there. And I'm assuming he couldn't hear his corners from where he was. He wasn't near his corner when that action was going on. And, you know, that instinct takes over. The takedown's there. It's available. And you just go for it. And you try to work for something. I don't know, man. It was hard to watch, though. At the time when I was seeing him do that, knowing that O'Malley's leg is fucked up, I was like, it's like when you're watching football or something, and there's nothing you can do, and the other team's, you know, got like a wide open touchdown. It's just a shitty feeling.
King, Sukumtat, do you think the moment got to him? Because in the first round, he didn't really throw anything. He was just standing there kind of moving forward and moving to the side and running away. And it almost like he froze when he got in there. Do you see that?
Yeah, I did see that, you know, and I've watched Andre for a long time. He's, you know, he was the regional draw here in New England for a couple of years. And, you know, he can be his own best friend and his own worst enemy sometimes, you know. If you look at his UFC career thus far, you know, his losses have all come with him making mistakes. You know, his first fight wasn't necessarily his fault, but gassed at the end, let up kind of a sloppy takedown, lost the fight. Second fight, he got, you know, it was a bad judge's decision, but at the same time, there were opportunities that he had where he decided to taunt Alejandro Perez instead of going for the kill. Again, you know, I'm not saying he should have lost that fight because he won the fight. Like, anybody that watched that fight would think he won. But at the same time, he could have solidified it, in my opinion, in any judges, you know, stupid judges, inept judges would have seen him, you know, would have seen the fight more in his favor if he hadn't have done that. That was kind of something that was disappointing to me as somebody that's watched him forever and he's never done that. And then his third fight, he overcame adversity. This is what he used to do on the regional scene all the time. There's countless fights where he would get rocked and dropped and things like that, and he would overcome them and he'd win just from being a tough guy with hard hands and wouldn't get rattled. This fight, you know, same thing. Like, he just made a bad IQ call in the third. You know, I can't criticize him. I thought he put up a really good response today. He did an interview with ESPN where he was saying, yeah, that was stupid. I don't know why I did it. You know, I took 41 punches to the head, and you got the adrenaline flowing and everybody screaming at you. And, you know, I had a couple minutes to think, and I made a couple bad decisions. So, you know, it's one of those things, like, it was stupid, but at the same time, you know, not being in there and not having been punched in the head a million times, like, it's kind of hard for me to criticize. But, yeah, it's, you know, it was just not a good decision. It was kind of like Pete Carroll deciding to throw the ball instead of run it. It was very similar to that. If we're talking about football and people are going to take low blows at me, I'm coming for everybody's jugular.
It's all good, man. It's all good. It's all good. Bryson, the biggest question goes to you. Are you going to smoke Sean O'Malley's signature weed?
Well, you know, that's on a hush hush. I'm down here in North Carolina, so you know, I'll see what I can get from my boy. But no, he was I think that you can't really talk about Andre, you know. I mean, I don't think he was in his right mind out there. I mean, once you start taking shots to the head and stuff, you know, you fall back on your game plan, and I'm sure that regardless of what he said, a 22-year-old or 23-year-old and Sean O'Malley, you know, talking smack to you and stuff, I mean, I'm sure it got under his skin a bit, and he was trying especially in the beginning, it almost looked like he tried to come out too patient, you know, show that he wasn't emotional. And it could have backfired a little bit, but I just think that Sean O'Malley it was just his moment. That was his moment. And he's one of those guys that when the light shine on you and it's game time, he steps it up a whole nother notch. And I think that's what he did on Saturday night.
Yeah, he was very impressive, man. O'Malley came out and did the damn thing and had a fucking pretty epic, you know, post-fight interview on the floor, laying there, chilling, like he's at home on the couch watching Netflix and with his chick, right? And Joe Rogan comes by with a mic, and he did his thing, man. One thing that I want to talk about Sukumtat, and also connected with Stefan Struve, right? Both these guys did camps together. They worked together. Their coach. They had the same coaches leading up to this. Now on fight night, both these guys are coming out. Stefan Struve goes out first. He loses. Then Sukumtat comes out, right? You see your teammate lose. You know, they could lose a decision. They could get knocked out. They could get submitted, but they lose. Mentally, how much do you think that affects the next fighter? You see your teammate lose. You're not in the best of spirits, because that, you know, if you played sports, when you lose together, man. You don't lose like separately, right? So let's start with you, King.
Yeah, I think it depends on the fighter. You know, I know some guys can really buckle down mentally when, you know, a lot of fighters will say it's harder for them to watch their teammates than actually compete. So, you know, I guess it really just depends on the fighter. You know, their teammate goes out there, they lose. You know, maybe that gives them extra motivation to win, to you know, make the team look better. Or, you know, maybe it's just one of those things where they're into it and then they just crack down to their own business. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. I just would guess it would vary per fighter.
What about you, Tone? Do you think that it was a bad idea to fight on the same card, especially back-to-back?
I think logistically it's a bad idea because you have your coaches and your corner and everything. I don't know how much crossover there was between the coaches and the corners and whatnot, but you have to work out that whole, you know, them going back with the fighter and then coming back out for your fight. But I don't know. I don't buy into that whole mumbo jumbo bullshit about, you know, seeing his teammate lose might affect like his performance. If it really was going to affect him that much, just don't watch his fight and watch it after the fact.
Bryson, do you think that Sukumtat having his wife in his corner affected him?
I mean, I think obviously it had effect on him in some way, but I wouldn't say it was like a negative effect. But I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't think that, you know, like women or well, honestly, if anything, it'd be a motivator. But like, I don't think I'd want, like, you know, my pops in my corner or my girl in my corner. You know, you go out there and you get smacked around or something. You know, that's That's tough, but I mean, it's tough to say.
Wait, was his
Hey.
girlfriend really in his corner? Or you just make that shit up, John?
No, his wife
You
was
just
in
make
his
that
corner, right?
I want Nolan to confirm that.
I didn't see it. I wouldn't doubt it. I
Is
don't know
she
what the
usually?
thing is. I just don't know.
There was a woman in his corner. I think that was his wife.
Is she usually Nolan, or is John fucking with us?
I mean, I haven't noticed that before.
You're
you know,
fucking
you
with
just
at
us.
least
made
on
me
the
look
regional
dumb.
scene, we can't trust him. So I don't know.
I'm not buying it.
Looking even more suspicious with the hat today too.
Hey, I'm not even making it up. I'm telling you, a
Okay, I
woman
believe
was
you.
in his corner. I think that was his wife. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
hey, and it goes into like having your dad in your corner. We talked about it last week, I think, or some other time about like Sage Northcutt has his dad in his corner. Wonder Boy has his dad in his corner. You know, like, is that helpful? Is that, it could work both ways, right? It could be good, it could be bad.
I mean,
when you're winning, it's a good thing, but when you lose,
we saw the benefit when you're losing. I mean, we see these corners. We see these corners time and time again put, their fighters' livelihood out there and with no care in the world. Like with Cowboy Cerrone gets knocked out and his corner comes over and tells him, go back out there in the second round, you'll be fine. It's like, no, he's not fucking fine. Just throw in the towel. Throw in the towel. Same thing in that fight we just watched a couple weeks ago with Shevchenko. With her opponent getting mauled out there in her corner, just sitting back and watching it. But with when you had Nate Diaz getting fucked up, his brother Nick throws the towel in. So maybe if you have a family member in your corner, they're more likely to know when to stop the fight and stop more damage when you're in a position where you're just not going to win. At the same time, I wouldn't want any family member or wife or anything in my corner unless they were in that kind of world. They knew a lot about MMA. They had fought before, they trained or something. To just have somebody there who doesn't really know what they're talking about, I feel like it's a big disadvantage, honestly.
yeah. Now moving on to something more positive, Alex Hernandez. I think he's the biggest story, other than the Brian Ortega. I think Alex Hernandez, he came out, he did the damn thing, 42 seconds, destroyed Dariush, like destroyed, just ran him over. But is that win tainted with his fake ass, like, let's touch gloves and then kick him in the head? Or what did he do? He fake touched the gloves and then kicked him?
Threw a
Right?
front kick out there, yeah.
Yeah, was that kind
He
of
threw-
weird? What did you think, King? Because I know you talked to this guy a lot. What did he say about this?
Yeah, I mean, he just actually, it's funny. Probably like an hour ago, he just tweeted about it. For first time I've seen him address it. They asked him a little in the post fight a little bit, but yeah, he was just saying, I can pull up the tweet, but basically what he was saying was that, oh, I'm coming running at you with like a beeline, and you think I'm going to touch gloves with you, like something like that. You're in the wrong line of work. Which I've watched that a million times over because I'm not a big fan of that stuff. I think it's one thing to not want to touch gloves; it's another thing to like fake it and then hit the guy. There's a big difference in my opinion. I watched that one quite a bit, and it's really hard to tell. I'm sure Dariush felt the same way. Like, is this guy coming to touch gloves with me or not? So I think there's got to be better communication. Maybe there was. I don't know, but usually the fighters will put up the gloves. Are we going to touch or not before the round? And if people are faking on that, that's pretty low. I'll take him at his word that that's not what he was doing. He seems like a very serious person. I don't know. I'm sure that's kind of starting to come across at this point. But yeah, man, he just went for it, and that was, 42 seconds. It wasn't like they were out there standing around for 42 seconds. Then he caught him, and that was it. Like, he was going at him, and he had Dariush flustered big time, kind of off his, threw him off big time. And maybe, if he hadn't have had that aggressive first lunge at Dariush, that wouldn't have happened. I don't know. So good game planning on his part. I'll take him at his word. It wasn't clear cut enough for me to be mad at him about that.
Bryson, who does he fight next? Hernandez.
I couldn't tell you a name right now, but just the way he ran through Dariush, I mean, just he needs somebody. I hate that I can't think of a name right now, but he needs somebody that's is coming off another spectacular win. The 155 lightweight is so deep. Like, you can find a competitor almost at the snap of the fingers. I mean, if I were him, I'd try to get there right away. You know, I mean, 42-second destruction. He made good on his word. He said he was going to do it. He went out there, like you said, he wasn't just standing around there for 42 seconds. He went out there and he did it, and he put it on him for 42 seconds and knocked him out. So I think that, I'm not sure who he wants, but he needs to get back in there quick. You know, he could put a streak together real quick, and unfortunately, but fortunate for him, MMA fans have quick minds, and you're only as good as your last win or loss, and this was a big one on a big card. So I think he needs to get back in there.
Tone, if you're his manager, what would you tell him to do? Because he's in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, and especially, you know, beating a ranked guy your first fight, he gets that jump up in the rankings. I believe he's ranked number 13 right now. You know, I tell him to get right back in there, get back into training camp, prepare for another fight, prepare for maybe a fighter falling out of the card, you know, of a card, and maybe get on Twitter and call out James Vick. You know, James Vick is ranked at number 11. And he's number 13. Call it James Vick, you know? Get that set up, get the momentum rolling. And
I think, yeah, go ahead.
Back off of what Nolan said about the glove touch thing. I you know, looking at it, I think he has like a kind of a wonky stance, and I think that might have thrown off Dariush a little bit as well, thinking he was going for the glove touch, but that was just more of his, you know, the way he holds his gloves. And it's better to be safe than sorry. Like, if you don't know the guy is going for a glove touch, why risk it? Like, just for a show of respect, you know? Like, I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, he has that hyena style. The hyena style, like, striking, you know, like how he has his hands kind of limp and shit. Like the Diego Sanchez. Kind of like the Diego Sanchez walk. You know, it's kind of a weird thing. Yeah, like Tone said, definitely don't risk it. Just go at the dude, man. Just you know, you're in a fight. You know, you're a fighter. Just go fight. Don't fucking hug each other and you know, give each other kisses on the cheek.
Don't they already do the glove touch when they announce the fighters and they bring them? I mean, why do you need to do it again? And then it's like usually it's a thing around the second or third round. If you've gone around with the person, you know, it's like a sign like, hey, like, you know, good job, you know, whatever in the first or second round. But in the first round, I mean, I don't get it.
I mean, like Nolan said, if you go and you put your hand up like this before we're about to start, and you say, you know, I'm looking to touch gloves, and you come out there and you're looking to touch gloves, and he goes and he pulls that shit, that's dirty. That's dirty. But it is a fight. You need to be protecting yourself at all times. Like, you don't know this man. You don't know what he's gonna do. So, I mean, if I were Dariush, I would be pissed. Yeah, but like, you can't. It's not illegal. We're in a fight. You know, nobody said we had to touch gloves after the fact. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, that's tough luck right there. But it definitely didn't lose him the fight. It might have got him out of that state of mind. It might have flustered him a bit, but it didn't lose him the fight.
Well, Dariush, he's been knocked out like badly a few times now.
Yeah, and I think it's safe to say he's got a kind of suspect chin at this point.
Exactly, man. Like, people are gonna start using him to like further their careers, and that's what, you know, Alex Hernandez did. He took that opportunity and ran with that shit pretty easily and devastatingly. So I don't know. It's hard to say where Dariush goes, but Hernandez seems like he's there to fight. He's not there to make any friends. So that's always good to see. I believe that a good matchup with him would be Volkanovski. Him and Volkanovski face off as lightweights, because Volkanovski's fought at lightweight in the UFC before. I think that a lot of dudes don't want to fight him at featherweight. So why not give him Hernandez? And Hernandez, they both have the same nickname, so it could be the battle of the nicknames. I think that would be good.
Except, I mean, yeah. that's kind of out of the box thinking, but I see
It is. Well, what do you expect?
Well, yeah, it's just that he's not ranked, and I mean, if you're already in the rankings, you know, if you're looking at it from the viewpoint of Alexander Hernandez, you just had a huge win. You're ranked now. Why would you fight some unranked featherweight? It just doesn't seem to, you know, it wouldn't put him on a good path. Like, I think you got to look at the rankings at lightweight and pick someone that's ranked.
You're using your manager mind. I see that happening. I'm just using my fandom in my head. Anyways, another unique aspect of this card, there was two more things. One thing is a record amount of split decisions. And the other thing was the late punches by Hector Lombard. Do you think that was late? And do you think the disqualification is justified? Or did CB Dalloway just find a way to get out of that fight? We'll start with you, Tone.
I mean, they are late, yes. You know, they're after the buzzer. But, you know, I've always said it's on the ref to stop the fight. It's not the fighters. And once again, protect yourselves at all fucking times. Just because the bell goes off doesn't mean you put your hands down and let your guard down. The ref for some reason, was just standing there and, you know, asking them to stop instead of stepping in and actually physically separating them like you see a lot of the time. So I thought that was pretty bad on the ref's part, but at the same time, you know, it's what is, you know, there's not really any excuses you can make for Lombard besides, you know, a really far-fetched one of, you know, he is responding to the strike he took right before the bell, and he's throwing, you know, mid combination as the ref is trying to stop them, I guess. But it's a hard argument to make.
Bryson, do you think that Lombard should have been disqualified?
Absolutely. I mean, it was a whole 2 punches, a whole combination after the bell. You know, like it wasn't like I'm trying to think of, it wasn't like a home Duranda May fight, you know, where she got her a couple times after the bell, and like she didn't physically, like she kind of rocked her, but she didn't. It wasn't like this fight where I mean, CB Dalloway was knocked out. He was on Queer Street, like he was gone, you know, and I mean, like Tony said, CB Dalloway definitely had his hands down. He was just standing there, but you just can't do that. And that's a clear disqualification because he hurt him so bad off of something that was after the bell. I mean, that's pretty clear cut to me, at least. And
it's like, regardless of the intent, I mean, I think we could say goodbye to Lombard at this point in the UFC, no matter what the decision comes back. No contest is a DQ. I really don't think the UFC cares at this point. I think that relationship's over.
Definitely over.
Yeah. And also, they need to test him. Yeah, they need to test him on them drugs too, man. That dude's a brick house. I don't get how he makes 185 at all.
Well, you gotta look at all the Cubans. If you look at all the Cubans, they're just built. Like, look at, you know, Yoel Romero, built. He's like 95 years old. Built like a like a Greek god.
How old that dude is. They say he's 40, but you don't know how old those Cuban dudes are.
He's like 17 or some shit, right?
No. I'd say he's probably 17, 50.
Like, he was like, when he was 10, he started fighting the UFC. We don't even know that shit, right? But yeah.
What about,
anyways,
I mean, as far as breakout performances go, what about Cody Stamann?
Man, he lost that fight, man. What are you talking about, Cody Stamann?
He lost the fight?
If you go on Tapology, he has one of the worst Tapology pictures of all time with that fucking whack ass headband.
You really think he lost that fight?
Well, I only saw the last round, so.
No.
What? How
He said,
when I turned on the fights, it was the last round of the Caraway Stamann fight.
That's 3. He's 3-0 now in the UFC. He's got wins over Ware, Duquesnoy, and Caraway. I think that's a pretty good resume at this point.
It is.
He's ranked now as well. He's ranked in the top 15 at shit. Where is he? What weight class? Oh, that's 135. Yeah, he's number 12.
I don't know. He like Cody Stamen, he doesn't interest me at all, man. Like Brian Caraway coming back from like 18 years off, like doing his little tour in Asia, and then,
2 years.
going through all the shit that he went through with his coach dying, and then Cody Stamen goes in there and barely beats him. It's just like, I'm not really big on this guy at all, man. It's just like, he doesn't interest me at all. He's Whack Arnold's to me, if you know what that is.
You don't interest me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why we're here. To make
I don't want to hear you talk about Tom Duquesnoy on the next card then, because he beat Homeboy.
Yeah, I don't care about him either. He's a whack ass Jean-Claude Van Damme wannabe motherfucker.
Oh my God.
Okay. Right.
But
Wasn't
no
that
one
fight
said-
split decision too?
He did the twerk in the middle of the octagon. Come on, man. I can't respect that.
And I feel like you're leaving out a couple. We got Mackenzie Dern, the Ketlin Vieira fight.
Yeah, those
yeah.
those were both split decisions too.
Yeah, there's a lot of split decisions on here.
I don't know, like the worst fight of the night. Okay, you choose the worst fight of the night. We'll start with you, King, since you just got back with us. I think you went on a little breaky break, so go ahead.
Yeah, the power went out here. We're getting absolutely swarmed with snow. We got like a foot, in the last 6 hours or so. So great times here in New Hampshire. Just don't come here if you're even contemplating it. Just don't. Anyways, what were you gonna say?
I just said it was 70 today.
Oh, okay. All right.
70
Well,
degrees.
then why are you wearing that
the
stocking
beanie
hat?
then?
I had a bad haircut day.
Okay. But anyways, yeah, the worst fight. That's a tough one. I thought the Zingano one was kind of had its moments of being down. The heavyweights, sometimes were a little tentative. I don't know. Why are you trying to always get me to trash people?
I'm not, man. I'm just saying. I'm just asking you, man.
I don't know. Yeah, those are kind of the ones that stuck out to me. I
thought
don't know.
the Dern Yoder one was pretty rough.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at this point, like, the UFC is gonna have to take a step back and like match Dern up with somebody, that she could actually handle.
She almost lost that fight.
She almost lost that fight. That would have been a disaster if she loses it. And I think you gotta look at some opponents that she could do well against, because the striking is just honestly not there. And for some reason in the first round she didn't even like try to take it to the ground very much. And it's like, play to your strengths. Don't turn into a Ronda Rousey, or you want to get out of your comfort zone and strike when you're a grappler. It's just, I don't think that's gonna end well for her.
Yeah, you're right, man. Like this whole I want to stand there and bang, bro, type shit that she's doing in the first couple of rounds was terrible to watch. And you could just tell that she believed most likely that she was gonna do what she did in the other fights previous to this fight, which is kind of go in there and swing wildly and catch the girl and then, go to the ground and maybe submit her or pound her out, which never happened. And you saw the glimpse at the end of the third round of what she can do when she gets to the ground, right? And you're right, Tony. She should have done that in the first round, and I believe that she would have finished her. And it would have been a happy ending to the beautiful story of Mackenzie Dern. But now everybody has doubts, and it's going to be hard to match her up with somebody really good, because if she goes out there and does that against somebody really good, she's going to get knocked out.
Well, you seen that new thing where the UFC's doing, where they like have that video and it's like, who should they fight next? And then it has like five
yeah.
like fast. And the one they did for Mackenzie Dern had fucking Angela Hill in it. And I'm like, no way. Like, there's no fucking not do that. You cannot match her up.
I mean, if they want to get her out, out of there.
Well, why would you? You have like a potential star in your hands. It's just crazy to me. Like, obviously, that's probably not going to happen. But like, why even consider that? That's insane.
Who should she fight, though? What do you think, King? Who should she I fight?
I mean, I have to take look at the list of, who who's at the bottom of that division. But like Tone said, I wouldn't be going anywhere near like an Angela Hill or somebody like that. Let's see who we got here.
JJ Aldrich was one of the ones who was also in that tweet, I believe. I mean, there's definitely. I mean, the jump from Invicta to the women's divisions is not like a huge. There's some lower level talent in both organizations. If you want to do like Amanda Cooper and some other girls out there.
Jamie Moyle is a good one, I think.
I would, you know what I would do if I was UFC? I would look at the roster and see which girls have lost the most by submission, and then just find that girl and then just match her up with her. That would be the best plan, right? Least risk. Why not? Why not? Why not do, why not do yourself a favor and give a favorable matchup to one of your growing stars, right? Do you think that she will be able to become a top 5 fighter in that division? Or will these weight cuts catch up to her, man? Because it doesn't seem like she's a pretty big girl for that weight class. When they were standing next to each other, the Yoder and her, she was much larger than her.
She's a flyweight, 100%. She's a flyweight. It's I
don't know, man. Like, I wish she would do good, and I think that if she works on her striking, like whoever's teaching O'Malley how to strike, and they're from the same camp, they should probably start working with her. You know what I mean? Like, she's got to become more fluid in what she's doing. I don't think she has any problems on the ground, but it's a trip, man, to watch these like fighters come in with like not even 10 fights. That's what's a trip to me in the UFC now compared to like 5 years ago, or even to 5 years ago, is fighters coming in that don't even have 10 fights. And they're like, basically it's like a coin flip. Like you have those success stories like Chris Weidman. Weidman came in with less than 10 fights, undefeated, and he became the champ, I think, on his 10th fight, maybe. If I'm not for sure. I don't know.
Sounds right.
Something like that, right? And you got a Cody Garbrandt. Those are success stories, right? But most of the ones that come in with less than 10 fights, they're not very successful at all because it's just too much, too quick, and they try to push, those fighters beyond what they're capable of. So, I don't know. Like, is there anything else that stood out on this card for you guys that we have not talked about?
Well, I just want to add one more thing about Mackenzie. I mean, she's 24 right now, like you said. She's only 5'3", but that weight cut's going to be difficult for her as she gets up there in age. I mean, 2 or 3 more years is going to be tough, especially as a female. And I mean, we're not sitting on like a CM Punk or someone like that. I mean, she's a legit Gracie Jiu-Jitsu artist. So I think she just needs 1 or 2 more tools. She a good coach, good camp. Just take some time, and just work on your skills. And I mean, there's no limit to what she could do. We see her now, and the hype might die down. You know how MMA fans are; they might forget about her, but she pops up in 16 months from now or 18 months from now, and she's got some striking on her hands. We're working with a bad woman right here. I mean, there's no limit to the things that she could do. So, I mean, just don't on her yet. But like, they're gonna have to find somebody for her to fight if she wants to fight again this year. Like, really look and try and find someone like a favorable matchup for her, because even Cooper, ABC Cooper, like Amanda Cooper, like I see her giving her a whole lot of problems, Mackenzie a whole lot of problems. So, I mean, I don't know.
All right, now Bellator, they're coming out with some news. Bellator 200. Who'd ever think that Bellator would make it to 200? Tone, let's start with that. Did you ever think that Bellator was going to survive through Bjorn Redney to get to 200?
I mean, I didn't have any doubt once Scott Coker took over that they would be successful. Probably my favorite, promoter in the game right now. I always has been, since Strikeforce days. Strikeforce was my shit back when they put on all those shows in San Jose, and they still come out to San Jose, so that's cool to see. But yeah, monumental event, and I think they're gonna put on a lot of good fights. They already have 4 solid fights on there, and I think they're just gonna keep adding to it. The middleweight belts on the line. Diego Masasi is going to challenge Carvalho for that. MVP's coming back versus David Rickles, who's a solid guy. Probably the first solid fighter that Michael Page. I know there's no doubt about it. It is the first solid fighter that Michael Page has faced in the Bellator cage. Phil Davis.
Gonzalez.
Nah, I'm not going to give it to him. I think Rickles. Is better in every facet. So. And then you got a 205 fight, Phil Davis, Lynn Vassell. That should be banger right there. Two wrestlers, and of course Crow Cop's coming back from Ryzen.
Well, he's still under contract with Ryzen until the end of the year. That's why this is kind of a tricky thing that's going on. Is how did Krokov, end up with Bellator? And Bellator is a U.S.-based promotion, right? And Krokov was busted by which commission was it? Or were they busted by USADA?
It's USADA.
USADA wasn't a commission.
Oh, okay.
That's what's happening. Also, it's not happening on U.S. soil.
Yeah.
It's happening in London. So you're avoiding a lot of the bullshit by doing this.
And there's a lot of critics about that, right? There's a lot of people talking shit like, Bellator. They're letting a guy that's known to use, PEDs, and he's even admitted that he's used PEDs, and using him.
Well, don't just say PEDs though. Say what he actually used.
Human growth hormones.
He used HGH as he claims as he was healing from an injury.
Exactly right. So.
And he admitted to it. He didn't even test positive for it. He came to USADA and told USADA, "Hey, I took this." And then they suspended him because it's always helps to be truthful, It
is for in the eyes of the viewers, I guess, the people that are watching the sport. Is always good to be truthful, but now with USADA, because they still fucking suspended him.
Yeah, they don't give a shit.
Yeah, they don't give a shit, right? So, in a way, it was kind of like a way to get Krokov off the roster, and now Bellator picks him up against Roy Nelson. Seems like Roy Nelson doesn't have no problem fighting somebody on roids. And what do you guys think about this matchup with Krokov, man? Like, do you think Roy Nelson can beat Krokov? Or is Krokov so juiced to the fucking nuts that he's just going to go in there and take Roy Nelson's head clean off? What do you think, King?
I think it's a good matchup. I think, Krokov's got the old man strength going. He's still got some power. We've seen that in Ryzen and I think that, this is a good matchup. Bellator, most of the heavyweights are tied up right now with the Grand Prix tournament. So why not? Roy had a close fight against Mitrione. It was pretty. I think most people thought Matt won, but there's a small group of people that thought Roy won. So it was a close fight. It wasn't a dominant performance, wasn't a dominant loss. Didn't come out banged up. So yeah, let's go for it. Why not? Scott Coker again. I know a lot of people. There's people like me and Tone who think he does a great job, and I get some criticism of him, but there's a lot of people out there that don't like what he does. But I think he always makes it fun, where he lacks in talent, he tries to make, fun fights, and this is one of them. I'm not expecting it to be, the number 1 and number 2 heavyweights in the world squaring off, but I think it'll be a fun fight. It's, a rematch, and it's on a stacked Bellator, 200 card. So why the hell not?
Bryson, do you think Roy Nelson is going to put down the cheeseburgers and pick up the needle just to make a level playing ground?
Why do you always give him the weird questions? It's like
I don't know about that, man. I mean, big country, just the way. I mean, what weight class do you think Big Country would be in if he really got serious about his diet and cut down the belly? I mean, I love it, man. I love to get up on top of the cage and rub the thing, but if he really got serious about his diet and his body weight, like what would he be like in like at 205 or 185 with like the amount of power he has, and especially his chin, like his granite chin. Like, what would he be like there? And just we'd never know. But like, I mean, if he went on the hush hush and went over to Rise, and and all of a sudden you see a little couple veins popping out, I wouldn't be mad at him. I wouldn't be mad at the boy. But I got Krokop for this fight. I thought that Big Country, he did a good job against Mitrione, but just I think Mitrione's gonna win the whole tournament. But I just think that Nelson, I don't know. He just ever since, I mean, like, there's just something missing for Nelson, and I don't know if it's just his kill isn't quite there anymore. His on button to go for the finishes and win fights. I don't know if that's just not there anymore, but it's just something's just off, just a little off. Like towards the tail end of his UFC career, I saw it, and I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but I'm thinking Krokop all the way on this matchup.
Yeah, I think that Roy Nelson, after he left the UFC, he started to get sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings, and I think that was his downfall. All you can eat wings just didn't help out anytime. He could go there breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It just was a terrible situation right there. Tone, let's talk about the heavyweight Grand Prix though. Like Bryson brings up a good point. He believes Mitrione is gonna win the whole damn thing. Do you agree with him?
Heading into the tournament, I did pick Mitrione to win the whole thing. The performances against Nelson has me a little worried when he faces another wrestler, someone like Ryan Bader. And if Chet Congo, he's an alternate, gets into this mix, that's going to be a little dicey because Chet Congo can make a fight real fucking boring real fast and grind you out for a quick, 29-28 decision. So that's a pretty scary thought. I don't know, man. I guess right now it seems crazy to pick the Ryan Bader, but I mean, I guess that's who you got to roll with.
King, do you agree? Ryan Bader?
It's got to be one of those two, Matt and Bader. It just kind of comes down to matchups at this point. And, for me, it's tough, man. I hate trying to the fact that Bader's a light heavyweight, try to translate his skills and strength towards, he's a big, strong guy, obviously. How that will translate against, one of the bigger end heavyweights like Matt Mitrione, I'm not sure. But yeah, I kind of started to lean towards Bader. I was kind of like Tone said, I was on the Matt Mitrione train when the 8 fighters were announced. Now, after that last performance, I'm starting to slide towards, thinking that Ryan Bader might be the favorite in this whole thing at this point in time.
You guys are forgetting
Fedor,
the dark horse. Not Fedor. He's the white horse. The dark horse is King Mo. You guys are forgetting King Mo. He just won.
I just said King Mo.
Oh, you did?
No, I said, never mind.
You said Chet Congo.
I said Congo.
Oh, you meant King Mo?
I mean, they're like the same fighters, so yeah.
Well, King Mo, you got to remember, won the the Rising Openweight tournament a couple years back. So, did you guys forget about that? What the fuck just happened?
I really like that matchup because Frank, I mean, he's always dangerous, especially on the ground. His jiu-jitsu is crazy. But I mean, Fedor is Fedor, and I would love to see Fedor against Chael Sonnen, because Chael Sonnen can sell any fight. It doesn't matter who it is. And Sonnen's still, I mean, I wouldn't say he's like the best he's ever been, but he knows his skills, he knows his strengths and his weaknesses, and that is better than skill sometimes. Just knowing what you're good at, knowing where you're lethal, knowing where you're not lethal at, where to avoid. And I mean, nobody's really better at that than Chael. No one has a fight IQ like Chael. No one's been in the sport longer. I mean, fought against Anderson Silva and stuff like that. I mean, he's just a really smart fighter, and you can never count him out. I'm excited for that matchup, whoever it might be.
Hey, Chael's been doing a great job in the commentating too. If you've been listening to
Oh yeah,
what he's been doing, man, he's really good. I think that
he
he's
is.
basically becoming one of the best already, and he's only been a few events in. I'll
I
talk
don't
about
know.
Frank Mir. Did you see Frank Mir looking like Santa Claus? I think we talked about this, right?
Yeah, because I was there live. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you said.
I had seen him. I had seen him like the previous year at the airport in LAX, and he looks like he put on like 40 pounds in that time or whatever.
He also got a new sponsorship from fucking Outback Steakhouse or some shit. I don't know.
Oh, it's not a Russian sponsor? I mean, I figured with him doing announcing for ACB, it'd be a Russian sponsor.
It's probably ACB buffet house or some shit like that. Who knows what the fuck's going on over there? But,
I like that. I like that Chicago card though. They have Emmanuel Sanchez, who's probably their best. Probably is their best 145. Prospect / contender. He's going to fight former UFC fighter Sam Sicilia. Neiman Gracie's going to be on that card as well, and Rafael Lovato Jr.
is that Demi Lovato's brother?
No, I think I might have fucked up the pronunciation on that.
Hey, it's no. But let's go back to that 200 though. The main event, Carvalho. Is Carvalho, man? Is he like the guy that nobody fucking talks about ever, but he's a fucking killer? Or is he just like there's a reason why nobody talks about him ever? What do you think? Bryce is like doing the like hush hush, get out of here, old lady.
Gegard, my man Gegard. All right, first of all, his first fight broke his orbital bone in the first round. I mean, Gegard, he has 43 wins, man. 43 wins. Like, I'm 22. He has more fights than I've even. I mean, like he's. I just don't understand how anybody could ever pick against Gegard. Like, he got a bad shake in the UFC. Like, if everything went his way in the UFC, he could be champ right now. And I'll say this right off the bat. I might not know his opponent that well, but I know Gegard, and Gegard is like I could not imagine someone out there that could beat a healthy Gegard, especially like the amount of experience he has is just unreal. Like his fight IQ, the amount of experience he has, like his body excuse me, his body and like his size, like his attributes for that weight class are just you got me all hot. I mean, Gegard, that's my boy, man. He's up there, man.
You said he got 43 wins, right? 43 wins?
43. Yeah.
It should be 42 because Shlemenko beat him. Shlemenko beat him.
Yeah, whatever.
It happened.
Okay. All right.
I'll say this though, Shlemenko was a much tougher test in my opinion than Carvalho. I don't really see Carvalho posing the same kind of problems that Shlemenko did. Yeah, I think when the betting lines come out for that, it's going to be very, very lopsided.
In Mousasi's favor?
In Mousasi's favor, yeah.
Definitely. When you look at Phil Davis, right? This is the other matchup, like heavyweight matchup, right? Interesting matchup, Phil Davis versus Linton Vassell. Is Phil Davis the shortest holding title? Like it almost seemed like he never held the title. Doesn't it seem like that? Like it was such a short period where he won it and lost it. What do you think of Phil Davis and Linton Vassell? Linton Vassell's been around Bellator for a long time. He's fought everybody basically, right? Now, does he pose a threat to Phil Davis, or is this like a setup fight for Phil Davis so he could get another shot at the title? What do you guys think? We'll start with you, King.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a setup like gimme fight, but at the same time, history shows that Linton has problems with wrestlers. He looked great. I mean, leading up to Vassell's last performance against Ryan Bader, he looked the best that he's looked inside the Bellator cage, you know, he had some consistency, seemed like he was improving. And then just when he fought a wrestler, you know, it just derailed the whole thing. And I think the same thing happened when he fought King Mo in the Bellator Dynamite tournament a couple years ago. You know, he fought a wrestler who had some power and things just didn't go well. So, you know, I think this is a really bad stylistic matchup for him. He seems to have problems with defending the takedowns against the cage, you know, getting up off his back. So I think it's a bad matchup, but I also think he's a tough guy. So I'm completely fine with the fight being made. I just think that stylistically it's about as poor of a, you know, a matchup for Linton as you can get.
Tone, do you think Linton Vassell going home in front of the home crowd, that's going to be an advantage, and that's going to be able to pull him over and be able to finish Phil Davis?
Yeah, I mean, he looked great last time he was out in London. You know, beat McGeary. No one really gave him any chance against McGeary. And he went in there and just dominated the fight, and then in the third round got the submission finish to cap it all off. So I do think it's somewhat of an advantage for him to be fighting on home soil, and also just for Phil Davis. You know, I'm gonna be making that trip. It's fucking hard, man. When you go from San Diego, which is, you know, West Coast as it is, to England, it's some heavy jet lag there, man. I was dying. I was there for my 5th day there, and I'm still suffering jet lag. It was pretty gnarly.
And you're depressed.
Well, I'm always depressed, so that's
Really?
it's not like a
Damn,
separate...
so if you're always depressed, like if you're depressed in the San Diego weather, when you get to England, you're probably like Tony Soprano depressed and shit, right?
No, I love the English people, man. The English people are dope. They're I feel like sometimes I was born in the wrong country.
What country would you have been born in? What are you talking about?
I'm saying the UK, the England.
Oh, okay. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I want to be
South
born in
Korea,
England.
that's for damn sure.
Oh, come on, man. We got the best shit out here.
I can't.
Like what?
The best shit out here, man. No,
Like what?
Like
we got
what?
the best everything.
I'm waiting for the list. This dude like, oh yeah, we got the best shit out here.
We do.
Okay.
We got the best shit out here. We got the best. We have no crime. We're like number 1 in no crime. You know, we don't have none of that. We have the best technology. Come on, you know that.
You got technology to shoot missiles out the sky?
Exactly. We got that.
Okay.
You know, we got the phones going down, the computers going down. You know, we got everything going
You
down.
guys have some nice knockoff phones coming out of there. That's for damn sure.
We don't have knockout phones. Come on, man. That's China.
But you don't got to eat over there though. You ain't got nothing to eat over there.
We got lots of food. We got Costco.
Like what?
We got Costco out here.
Costco.
We got
I don't know
IKEA.
Costco.
We got the Swedish meatballs out here
my
from
God.
IKEA.
Oh my gosh.
We got the
Nobody
we got
wants
the
IKEA.
we got the Costco hot dogs. You know, it's all good.
Are they $1?
No, they're like
Do they
$2.
give you free samples?
That's too much.
Yeah, do they have free samples?
Yeah, they have free samples.
Oh, that's
Okay.
good.
Well, that's a plus.
Yeah,
Checks out.
you know, talking about Costco.
Bellator?
Great
Oh.
segue to
We're going to talk
GSP.
about Chuck Liddell.
Before we
No?
go, oh, we got Taco Bell, but they're dying out because Dairy Queen came in and took it over.
What I was going to say, Chuck Liddell.
Chuck
Oh,
Liddell,
Chuck
not
Liddell. I thought you said Taco Bell.
what kind of fast food place sounds like Chuck Liddell? You think I said Taco Bell?
Yeah, I think you said Taco Bell.
I can see that. Okay, now that
Say
you
Dairy
say
Queen.
Chuck Liddell and Taco Bell do sound kind of familiar. But nah, there was some mild controversy. I don't know if did you guys talk about this already last week or something?
No.
Because like I know a lot of some members of the media, you know, and I totally understand where they're coming from. Don't want to see Chuck Liddell back in the cage, and it hasn't been confirmed yet. You know, it's not official that Chuck Liddell is coming back to Bellator, but there was reports from Chris Taylor, right? BJPenn.com said that they were working on some kind of giant deal, and I know Scott Coker had said previously that he didn't want to sign Chuck to a fighting deal. He more of like an ambassador kind of, front office, for lack of a better term, deal. And so, but now they're saying he's going to come back. The Tito thing, is kind of out there. Like they're going to do a rematch again with Tito, and that makes kind of a lot of sense. So, where do they go from here? With Chuck, is it a good idea? I'm personally in the camp of, there's a lot of matchups for Chuck, you could make where I really don't think, he could suffer serious damage. You have him fight Tito again. Like Tito right now, I don't think he could hurt a fly. So I'm not really worried about him fighting someone like Tito. You match him up with someone like someone like that could actually hurt him. I might get a little bit more worried. But I think there's a lot of safe, quote unquote safe matchups you can make with him.
You know what's official though? Chuck Liddell eating at Taco Bell. That's official. I saw that shit on TMZ. Anyways, moving on. Yes, Chuck Liddell, him versus there's a lot of fights that could be marketable, man, with Chuck Liddell, right? El Sonnen, there's even like Vanderlei, you know what I mean? Vanderlei hasn't fought in like 18 fucking years. Even
I think the rumors with Vanderlei were that he was gonna rematch Rampage for that Brazil card.
Yeah, like even those three right there, that three, like Liddell, Vanderlei, Rampage. Rampage would be kind of dangerous for either of those guys. I think Rampage poses the most danger to those fighters compared to Vanderlei.
I don't understand why Bellator has taken so long to get out to Brazil. They have, the Pitbull brothers, obviously, and they have a lot of other Brazilian talent. So I'm not really sure why it's taken so long, but it seems like 2018 is going to be the year that we see them out there in Brazil.
Yo, what about Caldwell? That fool just ran through Higo like it was like some butter on some toast.
I know Nolan was watching that.
Yeah, he was man, he's so good. Like, we always talk about crossover, if you try to compare Bellator's fighters to the UFC and, where they would fit in the divisions. I think, man, like his potential ceiling, he has potential to maybe be the best bantamweight in the world at some point. I think, the skill set that he presents in that division, and, it's not like he goes some slouch, he's a guy that was the, number one bantamweight prospect in the United States for like a year and a half. He's pretty legit. And, we saw him fight Eduardo Dantas and that was it was a fairly dominant fight in Dantas' favor, him and Higo. But at the same time, for Caldwell just to bowl him over and just choke him out like that was crazy. I cannot wait to see, him back in there and see him continue to be challenged.
Yeah, Higo was supposed to be like this guy that could give him a huge, huge challenge, but man, it was just total domination. And I think that performance put him on the map big time, the way he finished it so fast. If you do watch Bellator, because, if you don't watch Bellator, you have no idea who the fuck we're talking about. To be honest with you, right? It's not like they're marketing him or anything like that really well. Who do they market? They don't market the old names, basically, right? That's the problem with Bellator right now.
Well, they're marketing him now at least, but it is true because you would go to events before and Caldwell would be, ringside or whatever, and everybody's flocking to, Dan Henderson or the other kind of the more popular people. And meanwhile, Caldwell's just kind of sitting there, he could just mind his own business because nobody really knows who he is. But I think after that performance, it'd be hard for anybody who watches Bellator to not know who he is. And there's quite a few people who do watch that shit, even if, their ratings are still pretty good. So,
Tone, who are you flocking to?
I don't flock to anybody. I'm media. I keep it very professional. I do have a picture with Fedor because I would never pass up that opportunity. But other than that, I'm not flocking to anybody.
They flock to him.
What?
I said they flock to you.
That's right. Yeah. Mercedes, holler at me.
Mercedes.
Best ring card girl in MMA. Period.
I heard Fedor flocked to you because he was like really impressed by the beard.
No, that dude's scary as fuck. No, he's really scary. he's just got that. He's got that 1,000-mile stare, and his handshake is it's pretty intense, man. I don't know if you ever say hi to Fedor, that you won't forget it. That's for sure. Him and Rory are the two dudes that have scared the shit out of me. Like all the other fighters are like super like friendly and like all that. I'm not saying that they're not friendly, but just that like when you meet them, I don't know, man. They're a different breed.
Man, there's like when you meet fighters like in person and you like hang out with them, and some fighters you think like, how are these guys even fighters, man? Like they're kind of, there's certain fighters that you meet, they're just, you don't expect it out of them. Like the way that they talk, the way that they act. It's just
like Chael Sonnen. Like if you were talk to Chael Sonnen, like he just seems like some guy at your gym that, has a loud mouth. Like you would never imagine this dude is like a dominant MMA guy. It's just weird.
There's certain fighters that I've ran into where I would think like these kids, like this guy, if when he was in high school, he would have just been getting picked on all the time. But then this dude will fuck you up, like seriously fuck you up badly, like if you mess with him. But yeah, it's a trip to, the different personalities and different types of fighters that you run into. And I, like you could talk to them on the phone and you could talk to them like online, but meeting them in person and being around with them and like kind of like going and like, especially like if you like go around with them and see what they do, it's a whole nother experience, man. Like, I don't know. That's why I like those videos that people make of, like, have you been watching that Anatomy of a Fighter? Those videos that they've been making?
Those are awesome.
UFCs? Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are fucking good.
Am I the only one who hasn't heard of that?
Hmm?
Am I the only one that hasn't heard of
Yeah,
that?
dude,
I think so. Yeah.
You better dig yourself out that hole in San Diego.
Is that on the UFC YouTube channel? Is that a series they do?
No.
No, it's
on their
it's
own
a guy that actually it's a guy that works with the Black Zillions, or now the Combat Club / whatever Hard Knocks crew.
Yeah.
And he also got hooked up with like Ali and all of his fighters. So, he'll go to an event and he'll just like, it's almost like the old school, like Dana White video blogs. But it's pretty cool. Like, cause he'll feature all the, prelim guys, people that are there cornering, people that are there, he'll do it in the locker room right before, right after. It's pretty cool. I think, he's been doing it for a few years now, but now it seems like he's at like every event, and it's pretty awesome.
Oh, speaking of Ali, let's move on. Segue. Ali. Okay. Did you see that the tweet? Who was the tweet by that was listing all the criminal charges of Ali? Did you see that tweet?
Mike Russell.
Mike Russell is that true? Is that legit? Like the list? Because the list is long. Like it's not like like a teenager broke some little like little rules or something like that. The list is pretty fucking long. You know what I mean? Like
I would just implore people if you wanna. I mean, I don't really want to get into it, but I would definitely go read Russell's work. He's dug into it extensively and done a lot of good investigative journalism on the subject, and then you can kind of form your own opinion from that. Because there's a lot of info there, and you can kind of decide for yourself, what Ali is all about.
Well, there's two sides you could be on, right? There's the side where you're like, hey, this guy must be a terrible person because he's did all these, criminal acts, and it's not like it's just one thing, it's many different things, and some of them are violent, things. Or you can look at it as like, that's in the past, and he's doing good things now for these fighters. So you could be on either side, or you could be on both sides. It's up to you. You can, like he said, you could go read about it. I think also Ryan Thomas, he wrote some stuff about that, what he's doing for the some guy that we know. But but I think he wrote something about how he's helping the Dagestanis, come over to the UFC and stuff like that. So it's you got to read extensively into it and make your own judgments, right? But whatever you believe, whatever your opinion is, it's your opinion. So no one could take that from you. It's like an asshole. Everybody has one. So with that being said,
What a note to end on.
Yeah, with that being said, yeah, it was good talking to you guys. This one was a
Joey
pretty
Diaz.
long one. And Bryson,
Yeah, we can
good
talk about the
talking to you.
controversy with Joey Diaz.
Huh?
Wait, we can talk about the controversy with Joey Diaz.
Yeah, since
Oh
you're talking
my
about
God.
assholes.
Yeah, I mean, he said
Hey.
the asshole is gonna taste. What did he say?
He said,
I don't know.
yeah.
Use
He
your
said something
imagination.
about.
I bet Mackenzie Dern's asshole smells tremendous right now. It's something like it's some ignorant stuff like that, bro. I was dying.
Okay, like me, like I listen to podcasts, and Joey Diaz is one of the podcasts I listen to, like from time to time, because he is. To me, he's funny. Like to me,
Yeah.
ridiculous. The shit that he goes into, like the tangents that he just starts out of nowhere. It comes out of nowhere. They're like talking about like sports, and he'll start talking about when I was 15, I was doing cocaine under a railroad station with these two hookers. Like he'll just, like stuff like that. So to me, that's kind of hilarious from time to time. But yeah, like MMA sites reporting on Joey Diaz. Have you seen some of the titles? They're pretty ridiculous. Like MMA analyst Joey Diaz. You know what I mean? Like,
That's the first. I didn't know he
friend
was.
of Joe Rogan. Yeah, he's just a friend of Joe Rogan.
yeah.
Like, I mean, he's making jokes. Like, he's strictly a comedian. He's not. I mean, he's got a blue belt and stuff, but like, he's not an MMA fighter. He's just being. I mean, that's just Joey. They're just digging for his story. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I doubt that Mackenzie was. I don't want to speak for her, but I doubt that offended by it.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something else. I was like, I doubt her funnel was not tremendous. I thought that's what you were gonna say. But anyways, hey, before we go, I want to say that Joey Diaz, since we're talking about Joey Diaz, he's gonna have Yoel Romero on his podcast. And Yoel Romero rarely does any podcast stuff.
Right?
Like a legit, like he's gonna talk about Cuba. So I would recommend you guys probably listen to that shit, because I think that would probably be pretty interesting too.
You're gonna have a translator.
Joey Diaz is gonna be a translator.
Oh, okay. Joey Diaz is the translator. I was gonna say, because we don't want any more like controversy about homosexual Jesus or anything like that.
Well, you know why Joey Diaz being translated is so good? Because you don't know if Joey Diaz is really translating what he's really saying.
Oh, shit.
But just make it much more fun, So, all right, King, it was good talking to you. Bryson,
You too.
Tone, we'll do this again.